When people think of The Walking Dead Season 2, they usually think about Kenny losing his mind, Jane's final decision, or Clementine being forced to grow up way too fast. Or whatever shitty-ass group they fucking had, I don't know. Anyways, the whole point of this video is to talk about how Luke gets left behind. I think that's a shame because looking back, Luke has one of the saddest stories in the entire series. Not because he goes out in some huge emotional sacrifice, but because of everything that happens before he dies. By the end of Season 2, Luke isn't the same person we met at the beginning. The hopeful, easygoing guy who always tried to see the best in people slowly disappears as the people around him die one by one. Every loss chips away at him until there's nothing left. And the worst part is, none of it really feels like his fault. So today, I want to look back at Luke's story and talk about why I think he's one of the Walking Dead game's most underrated and tragic characters. The first time we meet Luke, he's almost suspiciously nice. Think about it. At this point in the story, Clementine has already been betrayed by the St. Johns, hunted by strangers, manipulated by the cabin group, and forced to survive almost entirely on her own. So when Luke shows up smiling, cracking jokes, and actually treating her with kindness, it really feels out of place. Even after the whole group decides to lock Clementine in the shed, Luke is clearly weary with their decision and sneaks out to apologize and check on her, and then whenever he invites her inside, he makes sure she eats. I feel like that kind of solidifies Luke as a character. Like, he could have ignored her like everyone else did, but instead he invited her inside and chose to help. It's a small scene, but it's one of the earliest reminders that Luke still has empathy, which is something incredibly weird and abnormal in the apocalyptic world. As the season goes on, Luke slowly becomes the emotional glue holding the cabin group together. He's always the one trying to calm people down. He's always the one trying to keep everyone's spirits up, and when something goes wrong, he usually ends up blaming himself first. And if I'm being honest, that's something I never really caught up on. When I was younger and I played this game for the first time, Kenny stole every scene he was in. Like, it just felt like Luke was this fill-in, nice guy character. But replaying it when I'm older, I realized just how much responsibility Luke put on his shoulders. He constantly feels like it's his job to protect everyone. And every time he fails, even when it's completely out of his control, you can literally see it eat away at him. One thing I feel like is not talked about enough is the fact that Luke was under so much pressure the entirety of Season 2. Again, when the cabin group is first introduced, Luke naturally falls into a leadership role, not because he wants power, but because people trust him. He's calm, he's level-headed, and unlike someone like Carver, he doesn't need to lead through fear. The main problem is, being a good person does not automatically make you a good leader. And I feel like that's something the game slowly shows over the course of Season 2. Luke isn't making these impossible decisions because he wants to. He's making them because nobody in the cabin group is really competent enough to lead. And sadly for Luke, almost every single one of his decisions lead to some sort of consequence. Nick loses control more than once. Carlos refuses to accept the reality of the world. Rebecca is constantly on edge because she's pregnant. Sarah isn't prepared for what's outside the cabin. Pete dies, and Alvin gets captured. And suddenly for Luke, he isn't just trying to survive anymore, he's trying to keep everyone around him alive. Realistically, that is a responsibility nobody could really carry just by themselves. I feel like if there was one moment that completely changed Luke as a character, it was Carver finding the cabin group. Before that, Luke still believed things could work out. And then after that, everything falls apart. And you can literally see that in the way he talks. His jokes become less frequent, his optimism starts disappearing, and he's constantly worried. He's constantly on edge. When the group is captured and taken back to House Hardware, Luke stays behind instead of getting close with everyone else. I personally see tons of players criticize Luke for this decision because they think he just abandoned the group. But again, in reality, he made the only decision he could. He thinks, okay, I get captured, who's gonna rescue everyone? So instead, he spends days hiding nearby, watching Carver's compound, and he waits for the right opportunity. Luke is the sole reason that escape was even possible in the first place. And still, after all of his efforts, people continue to die. That is the pattern that follows Luke for the rest of the game. No matter how hard he tries, he cannot save everyone. One of the saddest parts about Luke's story isn't actually his own death. It's watching him slowly lose everyone around him. For example, Nick. Their friendship isn't explored as much as it probably should have been, but you can tell they've known each other for years. Luke constantly sticks up for Nick. Even when Nick makes terrible decisions. Even after Matthew's death, even after everything, Luke still believes there's good in him. And then Nick dies. And the game barely gives Luke time to process it. That's something Season 2, in my opinion, does really well. People don't always get the time to grieve. The world keeps moving. One day you save your best friend's life from a horrible compound, and the next day they are gone. And Luke continuously experiences that. With Pete, with Nick, with Sarah, with Rebecca, every death leaves another hole in the group. And every time, Luke picks up the pieces, doesn't give himself time to grieve, and continues leading. And eventually you can tell that he gets exhausted, not physically, but emotionally. What made Luke such a likable character was also what made surviving so difficult for him. In most apocalyptic stories, the people who survive the longest are usually the ones willing to shut off their emotions. Jane is a perfect example of that. She keeps people at arm's length because she knows losing them will hurt. Luke never does that. He gets attached. He worries. He forgives people. He gives them a second chance. And that's why so many people in the group naturally gravitate towards him. Being around Luke makes them feel safe. Not because he's unbeatable, but because you know he genuinely wants everyone to make it. And unfortunately, that's why every loss hits him so hard. Every person he could not save becomes another thing he has to carry. By the end of the season, the cheerful guy from episode 1 is still there, just buried under months of guilt and heartbreak. Out of everyone in the cabin group, I honestly think Luke had one of the healthiest relationships with Clementine. He never treated her like she was useless because she was a kid, but he also didn't rely on her for everything like pretty much all the adults did. He talked to her, he listened to her opinions, he respected her, and that is a very rare aspect in Season 2. A lot of the adults accidentally put Clementine in impossible situations. She's the one making life or death decisions. She's the one settling arguments. She's the one fixing problems that adults should be handling. Luke is one of the few people who occasionally remembers that she is just a kid. And me personally, I think that's why players trusted him and wanted him to make it to the end. Around Luke, Clementine gets to be Clementine, an 11-year-old girl stuck in an apocalyptic world, not the group's problem solver. By the time the group reaches the frozen lake, nobody is really the same person anymore. Rebecca is gone. AJ has just been born into one of the worst situations imaginable. Kenny is becoming harder and harder to reason with. Jane is already starting to distance herself from the group, and Luke literally just looks tired. Not the kind of tired that comes from walking for days. It's the kind of tired that comes from watching people you care about die one after another. If you go back and compare Luke to episode 1 to episode 5, they are almost completely different people. Sure, he smiles sometimes, he jokes sometimes, but they don't last as long as they did in episode 1. You can tell he's carrying everything that's happened with him. And the saddest part about that is he never tells anyone. He never lets anyone carry that weight or help him carry that weight. Sadly, we get to one of the most unforgettable scenes in the entire season. The group needs to make it across the frozen lake. Luke starts making his way across. Everything seems fine until the ice cracks. You've spent the whole season watching people die from walkers, gunshots, and brutal fights. You don't expect one of the main characters to die because the ice gives away beneath him. It is silent. There is no music telling you how to feel. There's no dramatic speech. It's just panic. Luke is trying to pull himself out. The others are yelling. Clementine has seconds to decide what to do, and just for a moment, you genuinely believe you might be able to save him. That's what makes this scene so effective. The game gives you hope. Just enough hope to make losing him hurt even worse. Whether you listen to him and cover him from the shore or run out onto the thin ice like Bonnie tells you to, the outcome never changes. Luke sinks beneath the water, and that is it. No final conversation, no chance to say goodbye. One of the most important characters in Season 2 is gone. And that's not lazy writing, that's intentional, because that's exactly how death works in The Walking Dead. Sometimes there isn't closure. Sometimes you don't get one last speech. Sometimes someone you spent months surviving with is just there 1 second and gone the next. Even now, I still see people questioning on why Luke died. And it's not because they think he deserved a happier ending. They think it's because his death feels unfinished. There were rumors, like during development, Luke was originally supposed to survive much longer. Whether the rumor is true or not, it's easy to understand why players want to believe them. His story feels like it still had somewhere to go. He was one of the few people who could challenge Kenny without hating him. One of the few people that Jane actually respected, and one of the few adults that understood Clementine was just a child. When he dies, that balance he had created disappears. After Luke dies, the story becomes almost entirely about Kenny and Jane and their feud. Looking back at it now, Luke feels like the last chance the group had to stay together. And once he's gone, everyone pulls in different directions. It all starts going to shit. Personally, I think that's why Luke has stayed with so many players over the course of 10 years. Not necessarily because he was the funniest character, not because he was the strongest, not because he even had the most screen time, but because he never stopped trying to be a good person. In a series that constantly asks whether kindness can survive the apocalypse, Luke is probably the best test of that idea. He lies when he has to. He fights when he has to. He makes mistakes like everyone else, but never becomes cruel. He never loses the part of himself that wants to help people, and maybe that's why his death still feels so unfair. Because when Luke falls through that ice, it feels like the game is telling us people like him don't belong in that type of world. They don't have a place in this world anymore. And genuinely, that is a hard message to accept. But I also feel like that's why his story and his character is so memorable. The strongest survivors in apocalypses aren't always the ones that live the longest. Sometimes they're the ones that refuse to let the world change who they are. And I think Luke deserves to be remembered as one of them. When people talk about the saddest character deaths in The Walking Dead, you hear the same names. Lee, Kenny, almost Clementine, but you never hear about Luke. And in all honesty, I think his story is even more tragic than most. Why Luke? Why is Luke the one that died? It could have been him and Kenny instead of Kenny and Jane, but it wasn't. It was Kenny and Jane, and Luke was dead. That is what The Walking Dead is. Nothing is guaranteed. Life is unfair. And if you're too kind, you will die. And that is why I believe Luke is one of the most, if not the most, underrated and tragic character of the Walking Dead series. Thank you for watching this video. This is my first video. I might end up making more. I had a lot of fun making this video. So yes, leave your opinions in the comments. I would love to hear how everybody feels about everything. And sorry my speech is so bad. I don't know. Love you guys. Bye.